waiting here for the car to arrive. The first car from IAAI that I've purchased. Purchased it for $600. Supposed to be delivered like a couple weeks ago. For some reason they've been having transportation issues and it's just being delivered today, and the only reason it's delivered today is because I had to raise a little hell to get people moving on it. They were going to schedule it for next Friday, but turns out squeaky wheel gets the grease. So he should be arriving here anytime within the next 20 minutes or so. Alright, so we're in a bit of a predicament here. I had to jump it off to get it in neutral, and now I'm having to pull it because I cannot move it out of the little rut that it's in. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try and get the flex up there by it so we can get it pulled back. It's going to be tricky. Might just try and ratchet it a little bit, but I don't know if I have enough strap for that, so we'll see where we're at here. Only thing is, if I get this thing to rolling, it might not stop. That's the tricky part. We'll go ease it back. And she's not stopping. Stop right there. Oh, beautiful. Perfect. Thank you. Sometimes God helps us out. Nice. Okay. Did it. Get you in here so you can see where we're at. I don't know how that worked. It's real windy out here, so you might not be able to hear very well. Yeah, right on the carpet, like where I wanted it, away from those giant fires. Alright, due to some wind noise, I'm going to walk you through this part. The little jack I brought really didn't work for this vehicle, so luckily the original jack was still in the trunk with all of the parts. I had to remove this wheel well liner along with the wheel, of course, and there was quite a few fasteners that kept it in place along with some screws. So it was a little bit of a daunting task to get that removed. Here I'm going to take a few seconds to look at some of the suspension parts, just make sure everything is okay. Here is the harmonic balancer we need to get to get that thing turned and see if this engine is seized up. If that turns, then we're in good shape for the most part. There's obviously other concerns, but the lower control arm there looks pretty good as far as you can tell. I can tell. This part here has some paint that's broke off, I guess, and rust underneath. That may just be from the salts in the road, and that collision caused that piece to break off, the paint to break off there. But the boots look good. So the frame seems to look good. There's, of course, oil everywhere. That's to be expected. I did see some oil on that bolt next to the harmonic balancer there to the right. It was red, so here's our gaping hole of the oil pan. Much larger hole than I had expected. So that's going to be difficult to patch. And we'll need to get the camera situated here so that I can grab the ratchet, but yeah, it's everything looks pretty good. Sometimes with lower control arms and such, it's hard to tell if they're bent or what, but the frame definitely looks good. Of course, once you start driving these cars, if there's a clunk or whatever, you're going to know that there's a suspension issue. You can see that this cross member here underneath is bent out, and it's not supposed to be like that. When it hit whatever it was it hit, that's kind of supposed to protect the oil pan, kind of force whatever down and move the car up. But whatever it was must have been pretty jagged, so once it bent that cross member back, it went directly into the oil pan, and all the weight of the vehicle just created that hole. So here's the moment of truth. We're going to grab a ratchet, we're going to get it on there, and we're going to see if this thing will actually turn. Wow, it's turning pretty easy. Oh my gosh. With no oil in the motor, this thing is turning. Wow. Alright, well, I'm coming up on a hard part to turn right here, but this motor is not seized. This motor is turning. So, huge issue number one taken care of. Of course, there's potential for all kinds of issues still, but for the most part, we have a motor that is not seized. So, awesome. Well, wind noise continues to be an issue. I wanted to let you know where I'm at right now. I've cleaned this with Windex really good, but it's a very smooth area, and I want to make sure that it's roughed up a little bit to have something for the JB weld to attach itself to. If it's too smooth, uh, there's a good chance that that JB weld will just kind of stick for a while, and then it'll just break free because it doesn't have anything to grab onto. So unfortunately I didn't bring any sandpaper, but I did happen to find this concrete block that has kind of a flat side to it, and I'm just using that to kind of add some texture around this hole. And we'll just add, I don't really want to groove into it. You don't want to create like a path for the oil to go out of, but if I can just add a little texture, that's exactly what it needs. So next step will be to put some of the aluminum tape on there, and then we'll put the JB weld over the top of it. I've not done this in the past. Alright, so here we are. We have our aluminum tape on there. I've not done this before, so we're going to see if it'll work with the JB weld. That is a really big hole, and it's going to take a good amount of JB weld. So I will do 2 coats of the JB weld. I'll probably wait about 2.5 hours after the first coat to apply the second. It should be fairly hard by then. They say that it takes anywhere from 4 to 6 hours for it to set up, and then I think 15 to 24 hours before it actually completely hardens. It is a hot day today, so perhaps it'll harden a little quicker than that, but we just want to be able to seal this thing up so it's oil's not leaking in it everywhere when we try and start this motor. So this is the first coat. I didn't mix up quite as much as I thought I did. You have to put 2 equal parts of the 2 different catalysts. There's a tube of like a black liquid epoxy, and then there's the activator, I guess is the white tube. Then you mix it up and apply it. That actually looks pretty good. But let me try and get some more on here just in case. Try and get it on as thick as I can, and I don't want any of that tape to be showing because that'll be a weak spot. So the thing is, I just keep playing with it, and sometimes good is not good enough, and you keep wanting to try and get it better, but you just make it worse. So try and get a little bit more on my card here and see if I can't get it a little better than that. Try to go in different directions, but I seem to be scraping through to the tape, and that's not good. Let's cover that part there. You can see the tape through. That part right there kind of looks like the tape, but it could just be like a visual. Yeah, see that part right there? I'm going to try and get some over the top of that, but I think I'm going to leave it. I'll cover that with the second coat, and it should be fine. Like I said, I don't want to play with it too much. Alright, I'm trying to block the camera here with my body so you won't hear so much of the wind, but what has transpired since the last part of the video was I went ahead and added another coat of the JB Weld, and I did that about 2.5 hours after the first coat. And I went ahead just a few minutes ago. No, I'm not trying to detail the engine already. I went to pour the oil, and with this wind out here, it just blew it everywhere, and so I had to clean all that up. Luckily I brought some paper towels today. So I went ahead and put some oil, and now I want to look under there to see if it's leaking any oil. This stuff is really not cured 100% yet. I'm definitely not going to drive it tonight, but I would like to just get it started, you know, see if it runs, see if it makes noise and knocks and those kind of things. So the nice thing was, I went down the street to the auto parts store. It was closed, but across the street is like a Tractor Supply store, and the gentleman was just leaving, locking up, and I asked him, is there any way you could test this battery? I pulled it out and took it up there, and the guy said, yeah, I can test it for you. And he said, I can even put it on the charger and charge it for you for a little while. So we went up there and did that. Got that battery somewhat charged. It's probably not charged enough, so we're gonna hook it up and just unhook it when we don't need it, kind of thing, and hopefully it'll get this thing started. Just to kind of cap off where we're at right now, I did try and start this vehicle, and it sounded like it was too weak to start. So I went to the battery and tightened the terminals down. They were just kind of sitting on there. And I'm going to take and start this vehicle again and see if we can get it to crank over this time. I'm just going to pump the gas just a little bit and turn it over. Right here. Okay. So here we go. Okay, that it started and it ran for a few seconds. It sounded not good. It kind of sounded like maybe it was not running on all cylinders. It sounded pretty rough. It didn't sound like there was any timing chain issues, which is a big thing that I'm concerned about, that the timing chains on these sometimes get stretched out. And jump gears and such. I'm going to try it one more time, see if it'll start. Okay, there we go. And it started again. Ran a little bit longer this time, and then shut down. Still sounded the same. So not sure what's going on here, but the good thing is we have trouble codes because the engine light's on, and we'll be able to put this on the OBD2 reader and get us some things to look into to see what the potential problem might be. But yeah, it is started, and it kind of ran for a few seconds. So there may be hope for this engine. Not sure. It just really depends on what those codes are and what it turns out to be. But yeah, it's not what I had hoped, but at least it started. We got our scan tool hooked up to this vehicle in this part of the video, and we're getting codes. The two codes that basically came up were the P0340 and the P0365. The first one being the camshaft positioning sensor on the intake side, and the second one being the camshaft positioning sensor on the exhaust side. Both of them on the same head. So there's definitely an issue on that side of the motor, and I think that's the side that's closest to the driver. Potentially This could be a catastrophic type thing with the P0340, which is the main code coming up, because that sometimes is a code that'll come up when your timing belt, or your timing chain in this case, has either stretched or jumped, and it's throwing off the timing of the motor. And that's probably why it was so hard to start. And when something like that happens, it's just really messing with stuff. And, potentially you could have, pistons coming up and hitting valves and all kinds of bad stuff. So it's good that I didn't start it and try and run it too much. We really just have to be careful with it right now until we figure out what the issue is. But I think what we're going to do here is we're going to come in for a part 3, and we're going to come in and we're going to diagnose these sensors to make sure that they're good. If they're good, then we know there's something really wrong with the motor, if they're working properly. So let's come back for a part 3. Let's try and keep this video as short as possible. It's already pretty long. And thank you for watching. We appreciate being able to share this with you. And thank you. Bye.